I'm just trying to tag us. I'm just trying to reshare.
I don't know why it wasn't really popping up, but
Still not popping
up?
up?
It popped up on mine.
It did?
Oh, you're tired? Oh, there you go. You're going to play it?
I gotta make sure I
Live
look it
stream
right.
playing.
I got it. I see it now.
Yep.
Come on, give some love, you know. He was watching.
Live stream. It's got a little lag to it, but
Yeah, it do. But who cares?
we on.
That's cool.
All right. How's everybody doing?
Good.
You guys okay?
Yep,
You nervous?
a little.
A little.
Why? Why?
First time.
First time. Okay. Well, we're gonna break it down a little bit, so hopefully you guys we'll settle into it. So, welcome to our second edition of Youth Voices of Safe Futures podcast.
Woo!
Woo! Come on, man, give me something, bro. What's up? So this is our second edition, and the purpose for this podcast is to give our youth a voice, and not just this community, but mainly this community, but just give youth voices across the board. And so our topic today is miseducation. I have two people on here with me who are really good friends of mine, and I thought they would be really well to help me get the message across and bring some understanding to what is miseducation and kind of help some people. So first of all, to my right, I have
Libraini brothers.
Libraini brothers. We're going to make him famous today. Go ahead. Tell us about yourself.
My name is Libraini brothers from Seattle. I like cars. Favorite color is red. And still in high school.
But when are you graduating?
2020.
That's what
The year.
Come on, man.
Excited.
Class of 2020. Let me get some.
Couple more months.
What you going to do after graduation?
See if I can go to college.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going.
If I can go to college, you know, I'm gonna take the opportunity.
That's what's up.
Okay.
What you want to study in college? Real quick.
Auto body, automotive,
Really?
anything's about cars.
Cool.
Oh, you want to work on cars?
Yeah,
You'll give me a discount?
you know. if I make it that far,
You'll make it.
What's your favorite type of car?
5.0 Mustang,
Really?
19. I don't know the year.
Oh, you want an old one? You like me? You like
I like
old
the
cars?
one off Miseducation.
Oh, the one Kane had.
Yeah.
KD. See, you
That's
know
my
I knew
favorite
that.
car.
Really? That's pretty tight. Well, cool.
My
And-
mom should be buying it.
She's gonna buy it for graduation.
She should.
Okay.
Oh.
So she's hearing this, right?
Yes, your mom
Yeah.
watching.
You should.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then next we have Anastasia.
Hi. Yes, I'm Anastasia Tschida.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my goodness, a little bit about myself.
Right.
I'm actually also a student currently,
Ooh,
and I'm going to be done next week.
cool.
Dang.
Done with
Lucky
what?
you.
Tell everybody what program you're gonna be done
Thank
with.
you. So I am getting my master's in social work
Cool.
up
Cool.
at the UW. So I will be graduating. Well, my commencement walking and everything isn't until the summer.
Really?
But I'm done with everything next Thursday.
Right, that's cool.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So thank you. I'm
Big
excited.
accomplishment.
Yeah, it's been a long 2.5 years.
Right,
so.
right. Big accomplishment. So our main topic, like I said, is miseducation. So we want to talk about, because I know, and the reason why we have Libraini on is because through all the things he's been going through in school, I think some of the things that haven't been so fair with him and a lot of our kids of color, and kids face this all across the board, but especially kids of color are facing some of these things. And so Anastasia and I was trying to figure out what topic, like what can we call this? Do we call it school to prison pipeline? Do we call it miseducation? How do we label this? And I think school to prison pipeline is such a broad spectrum, and we came up with miseducation because basically that's what it revolves around, our kids being miseducated. And so Libraini, I told him I would alley hoop him some things so he wouldn't. You good?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So he had some things that happened to him while he was in school. And I'll leave it up to him whether he wants to name the school or whatever. But a lot of our kids are getting suspended from school. And I think these are the things that we're going to focus on first. Suspension and kids being put into special education classes when they really don't supposed to be put in special education classes. And some parents, not all parents, but some parents don't know if their kids should be put in there or they shouldn't be put in there. And so we're going to try to break this down. Anastasia and I always talk about these big words that we talk about in academia. So we're going to try to talk, not that we have to like break anything or dumb anything down, but we want to talk so even our youth can understand it. So Libraini, tell me some of the things that were happening to you in school around you getting suspended they led up to you getting suspended. Talking to the mic, bro.
When I was out of state,
yeah, talk about it.
it was like it's totally different compared to Seattle.
Yeah.
Because like I got in trouble for stuff I didn't get in trouble up here for.
Right.
So
Where were you?
Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah. So like what? Tell me, what did you get in trouble for?
When I got in trouble, I mostly got in trouble for like pulling my pants up.
Pulling your pants up?
No, like I had to pull my pants up.
Oh.
Okay.
My pants was
I
down.
was like,
And
Were they
do-rags,
wait a minute. Were they sag? Were they sag?
Sagging.
Okay.
sagging.
Okay.
Yeah, and then do-rags and being late to class like 1 minute.
1 minute late.
And
to
then,
class.
and one time I got suspended for just not talking to the teacher, and face expression was like kind of wrong.
Really?
They said it was like disrespectful.
Right.
your
So-
facial expression?
Yeah.
Was
So,
disrespectful.
Yeah, I got kicked out of the school for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got suspended. So let me reiterate this. So you got suspended for a do-rag, not speaking to the principal, facial expression, and what else? Was that?
Pants.
Yeah.
And your pants sagging, not you said pulling them up, but not pulling them, like having your pants sagging.
Yeah.
These things right here that we're talking about, this is what it's upsetting to me is that kids are, and I'm trying to make sure that I focus into this other than into this, so we can really get into this. That makes me so upset that kids are being expelled for things like that.
Yeah.
And you're a senior, right? And so every time something like this happens, this can affect you graduating.
Yeah,
And that was all,
It
like,
was
in high school?
affecting me because like I was seeing other people doing the same stuff, doing worse stuff, and they was over there just coming back to the school
Right.
the next day and stuff, and I just sat back and just watched it.
So you felt like you was being targeted.
Yeah.
Okay. So Anastasia, what are some things that you noticed? So I want you to give your experience with this and then kind of give me an insight on that.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, I can go a little bit further into like my background.
Okay. Can you please?
Yeah. So I have been working in public schools for like the last 6+ years.
Okay.
Anywhere from elementary to most recently middle school and high school.
Right.
So not as like in the capacity of a teacher, but
Right.
more just like a social worker, program coordinator, case manager.
Right.
So just providing like a lot of support for students and working a lot with like teachers and administrators.
Right.
Definitely done a lot of like policy work within schools.
Right.
So I definitely have, some firsthand, experience of, witnessing like your story, kids, young adults getting, not just like kicked out of the classroom, but
Right.
like expelled and like sent out of the school.
Right.
And I also last year, part of my master's program, actually, I did an internship at the King County Juvenile Detention Center.
Oh, okay.
So I also have some like experience and exposure within that system.
Right.
And of course, what we were talking about, the school to prison pipeline.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I think that unfortunately, there's a lot of targeting, specifically of like youth of color.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people like don't want to talk about race.
Exactly.
And it's like taboo, but like I think it's really important to name that and talk about that.
Right.
Like when you said other students were like not being targeted and getting away with that, were they like white students?
They was different race.
Or not all the time?
They wasn't black. They was different races.
They were just different races.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that just like my opinion on some of those things is that like really the adults in specifically schools like need to be accountable of what types of like practices and strategies and like support that they're giving to their students. And I am not like a proponent of expulsions or suspensions. Like if it was my choice, I wouldn't suspend. I mean, obviously there's like really, really like high situations where maybe like for the safety of the whole school. But for your examples, I think there's like tons of other ways to respond. To, like not be punitive and actually like make it like a teaching moment for you, because ultimately when you were, and I'm making an assumption, but when you were expelled from your school, like that negatively impacted you. Right? Like you weren't in the classroom, you were missing all of that work.
I was like every time I came back to school from suspension, they like have to find a reason to suspend me again. So like I had the whole week off.
What did you do during that week?
Stayed home.
Did they give you any work?
They gave me work like the first time, and then like they didn't give me work at all. It was break coming up, so I asked for work. So they gave me a lot of work for break, and I just did most of it and turned it in.
And parents, I know like people watching this and people that'll watch it later, I want to stop right there because this is so important, because I know a lot of parents, I have a lot of people on my Facebook page, a lot of family members that I know that are not on Facebook. And I know personally that they're dealing with this same issue. And that's why this is so important. And so when we like, whether we want to admit to it or not, like, if we directly haven't dealt with that issue with our own child, we know somebody that has dealt with that issue. And so what we're trying to do now is, and because I want to ask Libraini, like how, like, we're going to talk about the rules, but I want to ask him, like, Anastasia, you almost got to it. Like, how does that make you like almost like breaking your, like stopping your motivation for going? Like, does that affect that? I don't want to put words in your mouth. I want you to tell me how that affects it.
Yeah, it was a little. I was like, almost gave up.
Really?
On school.
And you were
thinking about like, man, should I go back to school because they playing too much?
Really?
Yeah.
And you're a senior. Yeah. Now this is a senior that because of him being targeted for these, I want to say minor things, he felt like giving up. Now if he gave up, that's what we want to talk about. Yeah. Like
they wasn't even trying to let me graduate. So I was like definitely like, man, if I don't go back to Seattle, it's
I have a question. Was there ever like a moment that you felt like, maybe it would just be like easier to be this person that they are like seeing me as? Does that make sense? Like you said that they just like when you came back to the school, they were just finding ways like, how can we get him out again?
Right. Yeah.
Did you ever find yourself feeling like, okay, I guess I'll just behave the way they are?
I tried. Look, I did for like a week, and then like they got off my tail.
Right.
Yeah. They like, I kept seeing the principal and stuff. They was like, it's good having you seeing you going to class and stuff, blah blah blah, and they was like, we like you this way, and then like, at one moment they just make me mad.
Right.
Let me ask you another question. Did you feel like there was like any like adult in your school that you like trusted?
Not at that school, but like the school I'm at now.
Right.
I mess with a lot of people.
Really?
Heavy.
And that helps out. That support.
Yeah, like they know me more than the other school know me.
Right.
So if I get mad, they will like, figure out this. Yeah.
With you.
Right.
So they'll figure out this, and then I, work on with them.
Right. Okay. And another thing that's happening, I guess we can go back and forth. We can cross between, because of time. I'm going to ask Anastasia this, like, how many times do you see this affecting? Because I've said this so many times before, seems like the easiest thing for educators to do, and I was an educator and I'm still an educator. The easiest thing for them to do is move the student. Like when it's a minor behavior problem, is to remove the student from the academic environment, which is not all the time. Like that's not even though that's not best practice. It's not even legal. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. So can you talk on that?
Yeah. I mean, as far as what you're saying, some of the things like maybe they categorize as like disruptive, like conduct or something. And I think like, so first of all, backing up, like you said, there wasn't even like one adult in your school that like you trusted.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So if you can just imagine, like I would not feel comfortable showing up to a place every single day where I don't trust anyone.
Exactly.
People treat me badly.
Right.
So I think even before like teachers and educators, utilizing strategies of best practices and things, they have to build relationships with their students.
Right.
You have to have that, like, students need to feel like they are cared for. Right. And so after that, I mean, one of the things, do you want me to bring up like PBIS?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah, please. This is a good time.
So there's a thing called PBIS, which stands for Positive Behavior and Intervention, or Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. So really it's looking at how can educators, like specifically in the classroom, like a teacher, have like behavior expectations that are known and like positively reinforce their students instead of just having this like cycle of like punitive reinforcement. So punitive reinforcement meaning like if a student is disruptive, the teacher kicks them out. That's punitive. And that's not helping anyone in that situation. That's not helping the teacher build like a good relationship with the student. That's not helping the student and their education because they're being sent out of the class. So I guess specifically with PBIS, like some and like I've also taught classes.
I know.
I've taught life skills classes.
I know.
I've been like a guest speaker in like health classes. And I have never had to send a student out of the classroom.
And that's and I want to stop you right there. I want to finish hearing this too. But I want to stop there because I'm getting old and my mind is like I lose its thought. I want to go back to Anastasia, but I want to ask you something. How many times were you, because she brought up the PBS, how many times were you suspended in that month?
Oh, it was a month?
Yeah. How many times you remember you told me?
It was like, probably like 2 weeks.
Like 2 weeks?
Whole month, yeah.
He was suspended but it was 11 different.
Yeah. They said, they were like, all right, if you get to 11, we gonna have to, if you get to 11 suspensions, we gonna have to have an IEP meeting with your mom. So I got into 11. Every time they gave me suspended, it was like 3 days.
Wait, hold on. And this might be too personal. You don't have to like answer, but do you have like an IEP? You don't have to answer that. But the reason why I say that,
yeah, I got an IEP.
I mean, you don't have to. I'm sorry, but I was just going to say for people, for people who do have any type of like special education services or accommodations, it is the law that you cannot get suspended more than 10 times.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what my mama's saying.
Really?
Yeah, because like she know all more about it.
So did she tell them about this and what happened?
They was like, my mama went like, she had to go through a lot. She went to the board, like the board of education,
right,
and talk to them,
right,
and then she had to like, she was just going back and forth, and then they wasn't working, they wasn't helping her, so that's why I just came up here,
right,
finished the year out.
Your mom gave you a shout out.
She gave you a shout out. Yes. Oh, ain't that sweet? and a lot of times,
buy you that car.
Anastasia, need
that car.
This gonna make you get that 5.0. Trust me, I might contribute $5 to it. I'll help you out. $5, that'll help with gas. But Anastasia, I know I cut you off, but I want to ask I want you to finish, and then I want to ask a question right after that.
Okay.
About the PBS. That's where you were.
PBIS.
Okay. Yeah. I left out one. Do you remember? I'm sorry.
Oh, I guess I was saying like just instead. Oh, how like traditional punitive things of like, okay, you're being disruptive, I'm going to send you out. Exactly. Oh, that's what I was saying. I was saying the classes I've taught, I've never had to send out students.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean that I've had students who are disruptive.
Right.
That doesn't mean I've had students who are disrespectful.
Right.
But I've been able to use, strategies to really, like turn around that behavior so that they stay in the classroom. Right. So those strategies could be like, I remember a few years ago, I was teaching in a science class for 8th graders.
Right.
And there was a student who was like lying on the table, rolling on the floor, and I was presenting.
Right.
And I saw the student obviously doing that.
Right.
And instead of being like, having like a confrontation and sending him out, I was like, you know what? I need some help.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he like stopped. He was like, what? I was like, I think I can like see some like really great like talents in you of like being like a leader.
See.
And so I was like, can you please, like, I really need help doing this presentation to your class. Like, can you please come up and like be my like PowerPoint.
Right.
I was like, I need an assistant. And this kid was like, oh, okay.
He's like, what the? Right.
And so he was like, okay, yeah, cool, no problem. He was like, I need to like stand up, and I could like see that because he was like laying on the floor on the table. Mm-hmm. So just like little things like that, you know?
Right.
Because of course, then also like I let him know like classroom expectations, you know, like that, as the presenter, that's like distracting for me. Like you want to also like have that be like a teaching moment. Right. So like for like, I guess your examples are interesting. Why you got suspended, but
11 times.
Yeah, and 11 times. But I don't know. One of those examples, like maybe the pants thing, instead of being like suspended, someone could have had some type of like conversation with you about maybe like this isn't dress code. And
right.
You know what I mean? Like have like a teachable moment.
Like I was there, and then like it was like a fight happened at the school, and then like they seen me with my do-rag on camera, and then they gave me like ISS for that too. I was like,
really?
What? Yeah. I was like, what? You didn't even see me. It was like after school.
So they went back and looked at the camera. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Like, I feel you. But they went back on the camera, looked at the fight. I'm sure they wasn't looking to see that you have a do-rag on.
No, they didn't look at the fight because like the camera is like was pointing a certain way. They just seen me because like I was like
after the fact
in front of the camera.
Right.
Was it the Gucci one?
Was it the Gucci? Was it the Gucci?
No, it wasn't that one.
Maybe if it had been. No, I'm just playing.
It was like a blue one.
Really?
I think. Yeah.
So did they affiliate that? Because I want to be real. I want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Because I know before we started, you was talking about they associated with gangs like bandanas. Even though that's so culturally, I don't think I can curse right now because my manager's watching me, but that's so culturally, I just can't even say what it is. Yeah. But was that the reason why they suspended you? Or did they even...
because they just said I had it on.
Right.
He said I just had it on.
Yeah.
So that wasn't explained to you in the beginning.
Nah.
Like, so okay.
This is like when I was like after they see me doing good for like a couple of weeks, and then that happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They just kicked me out.
And so I know.
This one, matter of fact, bro.
Talk about
The
it.
worst suspension I got in trouble for was taking a picture.
Uh-huh.
I was taking a picture of my sister was taking a picture, and I was like standing on like the little electric thing.
Really?
Yeah.
This is in Oklahoma.
Yeah, but everybody be standing on there taking pictures, so I was like, I'm about to go take a picture.
Really?
So I'm over there taking pictures, minding my business, me and my sister.
Getting your young selfie on.
Yeah, just get my selfie on. And then the lady, like some lady from the other school, like it was a middle school principal, because like I guess the school was on all. They had middle school, elementary,
like
and high school.
Something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
So she just popped about the blue talking about you being disrespectful, you being rude and stuff on our property, because I guess I was flipping the bird.
Right.
At my camera.
Right.
At my camera. So like she was like, "What's your name?" And I just kept walking. And then she just went to the principal for some reason and just said like what's his name? And then told my name.
Wow. And so I just and
I got suspended for that. That was my last suspension.
Really?
And that's when I just like stopped going to school.
That was it. And so I just so happened glanced down at my phone, and I saw a comment. So I'm gonna read that comment because somebody just commented, and one of my friends, Janelle Crawford, she said, "My son went through this when he was in school. The assistant principal actually didn't like my son." So the reason why I said that is because it's almost, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but how did you feel like when all these things were happening?
I think I was targeted. Like I was like, all right, because like the school I went to now, at first I was like targeted for little. Right. But like they would still help me, making things to get better and stuff. But down there, it was cool. I was like feeling like getting targeted after I did the thing I did. Right. The first time I got suspended.
Okay. So
and see, for this like last example of suspension,
right.
there was no like teachable moment at all. There was no like, hey, the expectations is that, this whatever area is like off limits. They were just like, no, you're
right. We're leaving that out.
Like,
there's no like second chance or
and there's no like learning. Like you walk away with just being like, okay, I'm suspended.
Out of the whole time I was suspended, I got ISS one time.
And explain to what, because it's called different things. Because
ISS is like in school suspension.
Okay. So we used to call it retrack. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Retrack. I ain't gonna tell how old I am, but retrack. Okay.
But yeah.
It's in school suspension.
In school.
And how does that work? Like, how did that work? Was you guys able to get still get the classwork and still keep up?
They send the classroom work to the classroom, or you go pick it up.
Okay.
So yeah.
So okay. So I'm gonna switch gears a minute. We'll still go back to that, but I want to ask Anastasia. So a lot of times I've seen this happen with like I said, behavior problems. Does that affect like the academics as far as them not wanting to deal with the child and saying sometimes, or have you experienced that, saying that the child needs to be put in special classes because of the fact, because that opens up a whole lot of, and I think what you gave the example about the student and you started to help him, so you rerouted that energy.
Yeah.
That comes from educators and people who really care. I don't think that anybody should be in front of our kids and they don't care. They don't give a damn about them. I just don't. I think just because you go to school, that don't mean you should be a teacher. You got to really care, because in those situations that's when we start to practice. We really practice best practices and things like that. So have you seen, the question I want to ask you is, have you seen that, them being put into classes? Like I want to ask that question, but I had a youth that happened to them, and I went to talk to the teacher, and the teacher said the the youth was having some behavior issues in the regular class, and so then the youth were put into some special classes. And I went and talked to the special education teacher, and she said, you know, he's not really being challenged here. Basically, the kids are, he's way ahead of the kids. But this is what his parents agreed to and the school suggested. And me knowing his parents didn't really understand, you know. And so now this is what we're doing. And now he's so bored in here, he's still acting out because he knows all those things. So can you talk about some of those things that you've seen?
I mean, as far as just like the funneling of students, you know, being like referred to special education.
Right, exactly.
I've definitely, you know, I used to sit on like these school like leadership meetings where it would be all like the support staff. And, like students of like concern or whatever would come up. And so some students that, you know, have been on my caseload have come up, and where the teacher is saying, you know, oh, they're like won't sit still in their seat, like they're being disruptive, like we need them either, you know, evaluated for having like ADD or ADHD. They need to be on medication.
Misdiagnosing them,
They need to be in like an isolated, like, you know, behavior support, special education class. And so I think a lot of things that in that like approach and that process that is missed is being like trauma informed. Because I've had a lot of students where I've like interjected and been like, hold on, this student is actually experiencing homelessness.
And you know what? Let's stop right there at homelessness, because he's burning up in his seat right now.
Okay.
I know you want to interject. Come on, man. Come on.
Oh, you were I was about
to. Come on. Something struck a nerve. Tell me.
They what you guys was talking about when I first went there to the school. That's what they tried to put me in. They tried to put me in the what classroom?
Special.
Yeah, the little
like an IEP.
Yeah, the little
like separate class.
How you say it? Special. Just disrespectful. That's how I say it.
Special education.
Special education. A lower class.
So they tried to put me in there, and then like
when you
they was like, no, when
he was
in Oklahoma.
Was that after the behavior? Was that?
No, this is like my first day. My first day there. They tried to put me in there, and then they was like, they was like, oh no, he's like higher level. He don't need this class. So I had regular classes the whole year. So when the behavior was happening, did they ever try to put you back in there? They was talking about it, but like,
see,
they wasn't doing it.
I hope everybody's hearing this. Like,
they was talking about it.
This is straight. This is right here. This is straight off of behavior issues. Like,
but I got like the classroom I was in. It was like I got me a learning disability. Right. It's like, it's nothing like a real disability type shit.
Right. No, that's okay. But, so learning, I'm glad you said, you know, you said learning disability. And the what's the top thing on my paper right there? Learning disability. And so one of the things that I want to like, and this is more for the audience, because I know we know this. It's 8 disabilities it's 8 things that we characterize as, you know, labeling your kids with learning disabilities. And that's basic reading skills, reading fluency, reading comprehension, math reasoning, math calculation, written expression, oral expression, and listening comprehension. Those are 8 things that if your kid is having problems in any one of those 8 things, that's when we start talking about them having learning disability. If not, they don't have, like, it's something else. Like, it's something else. And I this here was carefully and thought of by, you know, just being an educator and sitting down thinking about the things that I've experienced that kids have had trouble with. So I know, Anastasia, you was talking about.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for stopping you.
No, that's okay. And I mean, I hope that it's not coming off as like a diss to special education. Like,
right. No.
Huge like advocate.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. Special education and like resources.
Right.
All of that. I just think that and it's totally like needed. And even like more resources are needed for
Right.
special education.
Right.
But I just think for students who maybe are, you know, put into special education for reasons like behavior reasons that are actually more like have to do with like the environment that they're like living in.
Talk on it.
Versus like, you know, a learning disability or something like that.
Right.
Which also like that list, like it's so like white Eurocentric that there's so many like people from different cultures where it's actually not a learning disability. It's just like a cultural norm. But
for that culture.
Exactly. But here in like America, you are, you know, you're supposed to fit into that box of like sitting in a class and like memorizing, you know, just that whole structure. And that doesn't work. Like that's why we're seeing so many students and people like dropping out or just, you know, having a lot of like barriers in a classroom. Right. So I guess going back to the, what I was saying for a couple of students I've had in the past where they're like, oh, we need to, you know, have them evaluated and get on meds and all this. Like I've definitely interjected and been like, this student is experiencing homelessness. So actually maybe we can like provide them some like housing resources and most likely the behaviors will change. I mean, like imagine if you were experiencing homelessness, like how would you feel coming to school? Like would you be able to like sit still and focus?
I know. Who's what? And the question I want to know, who is like, I know the answer, but I want to ask the question. Who is who can properly diagnose kids inside this in a school every day? Is it the counselors? Is it like who can actually sit in front of your kid after working with them for a few months or a year or two and say your kid has this and it be sound advice or it be accurate? Like, is anybody that's working in the school on a day-to-day basis even credible to diagnose kids with? Like that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I mean, my experience in working at schools is that like school psychologists would do the assessment, but they're getting all, you know, not only like the assessment that they do with the student, they also do an assessment like with the family, but they also just get like information from what's that? They get information from like teachers and things who are like, no, they're not like doctors. But, so I've worked really closely with school psychologists before too. And I mean, like I said, again, there's definitely like individuals who, you know, getting an assessment, evaluation from a psychologist is like really needed for them to have a more individualized like, education plan and support. But other times, like the student who was experiencing homelessness, it was like, we helped the family get housing and the behavior is completely turned around.
And they didn't dig deep. And I'm gonna try to be good because I'm working right now. So I'll say this in a good way. I'm gonna be good. I got some important people in here. Everybody's in here is important, but it's my birthday, so I'll say it the best way.
We didn't do
it's my birthday. Thank you guys. So I'll say it the best way. And I wrote it down so I can stay on track. The parents of black and brown kids are the easiest to be put in these special education classes that I've seen. And the reason why I say that is because I've experienced that. But we as parents have to stop going and believing whatever the school tells us about our kids.
Right.
That's my alley.
Everything.
That's my alley.
She gonna believe in everything. Like
really, I mean,
she gonna tell me your story and still believe them. I'd be mad.
Really, but I think also like parents, it's important for parents to understand like the power they have.
Right.
And I say this also being like mindful that for a lot, again, like this is all there's like the disparities of communities of color and students of color that are involved with this process of expulsions and being referred into special education. Like they're coming from communities that have been like oppressed and marginalized. Exactly. So are already like feeling disempowered. So then you're asking this, you know, community that has gone through a lot of trauma, like stand up to like the school system.
I know,
you know
right,
what I mean?
right.
So there's also like, I'm always really mindful of like those barriers.
Right.
Like it is hard.
Right.
But parents have a lot of power.
They have a lot of power. I'm glad Anastasia and I are playing good cop, bad cop right now. And of course, you're the good cop.
Oh,
no,
really?
you're the good. Trust me, you're the good. And I'm glad we have that balance right now. And Libraini's in the middle, like, yeah, I agree with everything. Yeah. I know the last conversation Anastasia and I had, it ended with, I said something like, these parents got to stop going to school with their pajamas on. Like that's making the people suspend the kids more because they feel like there's somebody's at home and they're more likely to send your kid home. And people outside of my community, like everybody in here looking at me like, no, that's not true. But I know it's like it is true. I've worked in the school system and I've been in the community, so I know it's true. Like I'm gonna tell you what's real, but
also
we got a quick question. Question from Lindsay is,
you know Lindsay? Lindsay, you know Lindsay?
are you still at the school from which you were suspended?
Hey, Lindsay.
From? And if not, do you feel like you are now getting the support you need? And what are some changes you want to see?
Nah, I'm not at the school. It was in a different state, but the school I was struggling in a couple years ago, it's going pretty fine.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
You can go.
No, did she say what changes?
Yeah, what changes do you want to see in the school?
Man, a lot really, but
like your old school.
Yeah.
Oh, in Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Man, different rules gotta be changed. I can't say nothing about it because that's them. That's what they do.
Right.
So,
right. But we always have to, even though if we're not dealing with it, and I know, Lever, not what you mean, even if we're not dealing with it firsthand, it's still people that we know and kids that have to come behind us and they still have to deal with these things. And I think it's serious whether the kid is in the 9th or the 1st or the 12th grade or anywhere between. But for a high school senior to be suspended 11 times in 1 month is like outrageous. Like, that's unbelievable. And when you told me that, I try not to bring emotions into it because I was like, you got to be like, something's got to be done. And so that's the reason why I think we're talking about this. Yeah. And we're trying to bring light to this.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So
that's Daniel, our program manager. That, he wants to let everybody know who my boss is in here. So no, I'm just playing.
No, I know it was talked about, but
right.
I didn't get Libraini's perspective on this.
Okay.
Do you feel like a lot of those suspensions, they were mainly based on you being black?
Some of them. Yeah, some of them. Yeah, because
You
like
felt you were targeted.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Targeted.
Were there other sort of racist feelings that you felt over there, or kind of systemic stuff?
Like, I was to myself, to be honest. That's why they was like mostly like I got suspended for just not talking to no one too. Oh God, I was just like being myself, and they was like, he's not asking for no help or nothing. Like, I said, if I need help, I would ask you guys. And then, yeah.
Did you have anyone in your school who like racially even like represented you? Like, were there any teachers or support staff?
Nah, but it seemed like it, like how they moved, it was like a couple. I was like, yeah. I got mad at them a couple times.
We got some old people and they don't know about how they move. So
but
break it down.
How they like how they move themselves, like what they do.
How they
actions.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Their actions.
Right. And a lot of times one thing I know, Daniel's a social major as well as me. And a lot of times we talk about being targeted, and Anastasia asked, was anybody supporting you? A lot of times us as people of color, especially black men, we was taught in sociology that the difference between those things is like targets and agents. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that, but targets is like we are sometimes targeted for things as black men that other black men have done, not even knowing or getting to know who we are. But then on the other side, you got the most white people and people of other races. They're agents. They don't get targeted. They act as anything they do is individual. Like, it's like they're not blamed for something else that somebody that looks like them have done. And we are. And it seems like in the school system, that's what's been happening. And we gotta, people, we're not having this podcast just to make us look good. We're not having it just to be on live, because we can all go on live ourselves. This is a real problem in our school system and with our kids, and it's affecting, just think about if Libra and I hadn't moved. Like, your mom had to send you how many miles away back to Seattle just for you to graduate? Like, that is insane.
I could have just stayed.
What if they didn't have the money to do that? Yeah. Who does that? And then if you didn't, if you got suspended 11 times in 1 month, I don't see you walking across the street.
I would have had to graduate next year. That's what they were saying.
See what I mean?
So I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. Because this is my year.
But then what if they had been so if they was targeting you this year, what do you think would have happened next year? Now you're a fifth year.
I would have.
Super senior.
Yeah.
So and that ain't cool.
It would have been the same thing.
Right. So, or even worse.
Yeah, or even worse. But yeah.
I think
I like my school better now.
That's what's up, man.
They say about ever since I came back, I guess I act different, I stay in my classes more.
Well, probably because it sounds like you have relationships, you feel like your teachers care about you. Yeah. So
he asked me,
that would make sense.
Right. He asked me when he came back what was different about him. He said, I got taller. I said, no, your cell phone's on now.
You know it.
But
get up.
But anyway, but I know how much time do we have?
45 minutes.
Okay, so
I was gonna say one thing about racism in schools,
right?
And I think that a lot of time, not just in Seattle but across the state, I've worked with different school districts, and it's really easy to have a training on racism,
right,
during professional development,
right,
but and then just kind of check that off.
You're right.
And
I agree.
It's so much more than that.
I agree.
And there really has to be more work.
Right.
That, all people are doing around that. Really deep self-reflection and everything. I just don't think it's enough to just have one training.
You're right. And you're right. And I want to, and that goes into what your mom I got to read what your mom said.
Who mom?
Your mom.
Oh.
Your mom said the parents need to get more education about IEPs, students, and not just that. The school needs to tell them what they think needs to be done. So that's your mom's comment. And she also said that
next
the school run over parents because the parents do not know what IEPs are and how it works. And to get educated, they get paralyzed, and to get more educated about IEP and to fight for their kids. So that's, I think, because when we was talking about IEPs, most of the people know their kid has IEP if their kid has one, but I'm pretty sure they don't know what it means. They don't really even know. A parent asked me, what does this mean? Kids are saying they got all these different things and they don't know.
A lot of people, I had IEP in Oklahoma, and then it was a lot of people. I was in class and they get to leave early.
Right.
I was why
if they got an IEP?
Early? Yeah. I was why they get to leave early?
You I want an IEP too.
Yeah. I was can I leave? But she said it's a special thing.
Accommodation.
Yeah. But it was mostly everybody who had it. And I'm bro, nothing, it don't look like nothing wrong with you guys.
Right.
I think a really good point that your mom also speaks on is that schools really need to be bridged with the community.
Right.
There really needs to be family engagement.
Right.
I've worked with parents who don't even think they're allowed to walk into their child's school.
Thank you.
They don't even think they're allowed to go to the front office and ask for information about their students.
And why is that? Why do you think that? Let's have an honest, before we close, let's have an honest conversation. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's a lot of different reasons. I mean, for one, I think there's a huge gap and mistrust that a lot of different communities have with school systems.
Right.
I've also worked with a lot of, undocumented families.
Right, exactly.
And so there's also that fear of, I don't want any trouble with any type of like system or anything like that. And I've also worked with parents before who, again, it's just like racist practices. Well, they'll come into the school and be really passionate about their student, and administration has like been like, you put like a ban on them coming to the school. These are parents, because the parent is being too loud and aggressive, and it's like disrupt, so that's so racist. Like this parent is literally coming because they care about their child, and we should like be really happy that they're reaching out to us. So I think there's a lot of barriers. I mean, there's a lot of families who are like single parent households. They're maybe working like multiple jobs. Like I have worked with families where they've lost their job by having to come to the school.
I have too.
So I think also schools and like support staff and people just doing family engagement also really needs to meet families where they're at.
Instead of just making it difficult for
because
them.
there's so many barriers. I mean, also transportation.
Exactly.
Like gentrification is huge in the city of Seattle. I've had families living in Lakewood, which is like South Tacoma.
I know.
They don't have a car.
Right.
How are they they can't show up to an IEP meeting.
Right. Yeah.
They have a baby. What I mean?
Small baby. Yeah.
So many things.
Right.
That is another thing that I just really stress for like educators to really, meet families where they're at and like engage, because ultimately, parents love their kids. And if you have them just on the same page, and another thing is also engaging them for like when positive things happen. I've had a lot of parents being like, can I get like a call when something like positive happens? Instead
of just calling every time something negative happens. And that almost make parents think that you don't care because you're only calling when things bad.
Right. And then that also, I mean, I don't want to make an assumption about your family. But that also, I mean, if your mom constantly is getting like negative calls from the school, that might like damage, like, you were saying that sometimes she just like believes them and not always you. Like that could have an effect on like your relationship. Yeah. Right? Like, whereas if she was hearing, a balance and more positive things, like I've seen families really like bond over that and really like become strong. Right.
And Lindsay said that you have a twin. Yes, he has a twin sister. And also,
which Lindsay is this?
Lindsay Cordova. What's Lindsay? You thought I was talking? You thought I was talking about somebody?
Oh, the one at the south.
Yes. You thought I was talking about another Lindsay?
I got a twin.
And also, and just piggyback off what Anastasia said before we close, and parents don't, and I've learned this too, you don't always have to go to a school meeting by yourself. If it's a single parent hall, bring family members with you, because most of the time, if you go to a meeting, I done went to meetings with my son and my daughter for different things, and it's been 7 white people and 1 black person sitting in that meeting. And that 1 black person is just there just to say that they're not racist. And and they are all on the same page. When you come in, they're all going to say the same thing about your kids. So make sure you also have support. You don't have to go there alone, and, bring some family members. Daniel?
Before you guys end, because Natorius and Anastasia, you guys are both, educators, and you guys have been in the education field for a long time. Right. Can you just kind of really quick give like an idea or a vision of what it looks like not to miseducate the kids, but educate them with cultural responsiveness, right? Like what, because we see the system broken.
Right.
you talked to me about, how you have to go, meet them where they are.
Right.
Those type of things.
Right.
So tell us what it would look like.
Right. So I'll let you finish. I'll start it and then I'll let you finish.
Sure.
Mine is basically, you already answered it. And Anastasia spoke on it as well. And she said we have to meet the kids where they are. And let me tell you how that looks. I was teaching at Highline, and so I still have, even though I'm an educator, I also have this human service background, and I have this notorious person that wanna help everybody. And so when I would see a kid struggling and doing bad, grade wise or whatever, I would dig a little bit deeper into that kid's life, like Anastasia talked about, or the family, and try to see what was going on. Because a lot of times as educators, we see potential in kids and we know when they're struggling and we know when they can do better. You know how your mom, I don't know if you guys' mom would have ever said this, but my mom would always say, I'm getting on you because I know you could do better. I know. So for us that know the kids could do better, we tend to dig a little bit deeper to try to help them more. When we talk about, and I'm jumping around, when we talk about helping kids and giving them wraparound support, that's what that is. It's like helping them, and because it may be like we do here. We help kids get over barriers, whatever barrier that's stopping them to succeed. And I think as educators, we have to help the kids get over these barriers that's stopping them. But it's hard. It's hard. That's easier said than done. It's hard for us as educators. Teaching at a college, you got 10 weeks a quarter. During the summer, you got 8 weeks, and it's fast. It's fast. So it's really hard. That's why everybody, if it's parents that are supporting, we all need to be on the same page, and they can help as well. So that's my. Go ahead.
My response was thinking of cultural responsiveness.
That's
and,
good. Yeah.
Being a teacher, just an educator. I think definitely I always look at equity and looking at curriculum and
right.
I just think the curriculum needs to be tailored to meet the students. And so whether that be advocating with the school or whatever institution, maybe hey, this textbook from the 60s on historical perspective of I don't know, colonial people is not accurate.
Right.
So I think that's more on a systemic level, but I think really also being mindful of what are the materials, and are we having these students sit silently and reading and then having to you know what I mean? So I think tweaking and tailoring the actual implementation of what they're actually learning that fits in their cultural norms. So I know before this we were talking about in some cultures it's not the norm to be super outspoken or make eye contact or whatever. And so if you're working with, that's also knowing your students. So knowing your students and taking into consideration their culture and then adapting what, your curriculum is will benefit that student and they'll be more successful in that. So I've done things as far as tailoring curriculum and things like that. I've broken classrooms down into more interactive.
That's what I was about
sessions.
To ask you. How do you while we're finishing up? How and I want to know, because I know we were when I was teaching on a day-to-day basis, we had a certain amount of curriculum that we had to get through at a certain amount of time. How does that look when you have so many kids in your classroom of different ethnicities and trying to tailor each kid? How does that, do you think it should be more time put into certain, like for college, do you think it should be more time put into the quarters? Like, I don't know, because that takes a lot of, that takes a lot of time, I actually agree with it, but I just always wonder, how do we do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think you just have to be like strategic in how, just knowing who your students are, knowing their background, their demographics, and, maybe even making different assignments, having different options for assignments.
That's good.
Like, whether you want to like read this
about.
chapter and like write a report, or like, do you want to do a more like, like a video of your, you know what I mean? So maybe like giving different options for like different students, because everyone learns differently.
Exactly.
And so I think, I've taken classes where I've been given those different options. I've even been given like, you can write on this topic or you can write on that.
But not just one set.
Yeah. Because not everyone can learn and like think, not everyone learns and thinks the same way.
Okay. Okay.
But I don't know. I'm not a teacher.
right.
But
that's good.
But that's just something.
That's good.
That I would do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Done before.
That's good. And I think, you know what? You gave me, thank you, both of you guys, so much for coming, giving me your time and giving everybody else your time. Thank you for opening up. As a student, I know sometimes it's hard, but I knew you could do it. Anastasia, I think you should be like, come and co-host with me sometime, because you're gonna be the bad, you're gonna be the good cop, and I'm gonna be the bad. Because look, I say something hard, and you go, well, this is how. But
people tell me I'm too.
No, it's good. No, you saying it the right way. I say it for the knuckleheads that don't want to hear anyway. But everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in. Is it anything else?
Free AJ. Live for the day of my daughter tomorrow. Free Johnny.
Freestyle?
Nah, I just said it who I had to say it to.
Oh, okay.
If they heard me,
You want to shout out? No, shout out to, go ahead.
Free Johnny, free AJ, live for the day of my daughter tomorrow, 2020.
All right. Right. All right. Well, what about your mom and your sister? And
my mom, love you too, brother. I seen your comment. Yeah,
You're famous now.
Come on. Up and down is the hand signal.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to Youth Voices of Safe Futures. Tune in next month. I think it's around, we'll put out the flyer. I think I got it scheduled for around February the 17th. And who knows, we may do a part 2. We'll see. Thank you guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.